Making your way through work Monday takes everything you got. Then Monday night rolls around and you realize there's a shot. You're only 10 points away. All those times when your team had no fight, they're just so gosh darn frail. Then your star quarterback let another deep ball sail, and your third round pick bet on his team. Then go check out our streets where everybody knows your pain, and they listen to complaints. You wanna be where you can see our bodies bring you no shame. You wanna go where everybody knows your pain.
Welcome back to another episode of Dad Bod Fantasy Squad. I'm here today, Mario, here with Rob Norton. What's up, dude?
What's going on, man?
Not much. We're without Robbie. What's going on?
I know. Man, I'm gonna miss him.
Freaking slacker. I tell you.
I know. I tell you.
Some people. The dude starts doing his own DFS episode. Decided to do. I'm gonna just show my face on there, do my own DFS thing, and now we don't even get him for the regular episodes.
I see how it is. He's too good for us now. He's hitting it big time. He's
It's baloney, dude. We should
that's how I
talk
feel.
with them. Get him out of here.
We're gonna have to.
Oh man, Tuesdays are rough, dude. Like each day of the week, I get excited about something related to fantasy football during the season. Honestly, like Monday, you're like, yes, Monday night football. Wednesday, you're like, waiver day, dude. I could see all these guys, and I could even add some free agents and whatnot. Thursday, you got Thursday night football, and Friday is close to one of the worst days in football season because it's the least exciting. You have nothing going on. But Tuesday's also one of those. Like the only thing you get on Tuesdays is like, let me look at my teams after I just took this brutal L. Let me see my shit record or whatever it may be. And then you get to plan for the week ahead with, benching your guys that just went on IR for the year or something.
Yeah. No, I think you nailed it. Like, and then Tuesday, obviously, you get the waiver wire stuff, trying to figure out what you're gonna do, how much you're gonna spend.
Yeah, and also like ESPN does the fab poorly.
Yeah. I was gonna say, it's funny. I'm in 2 leagues on ESPN. Neither of them do fab, so I'm not actually not too familiar with how they do theirs, to be honest with you.
Yeah, so I do want to talk about it. We got maybe like another minute or something. Fab actually, I think Fab is just done improperly throughout all platforms because I don't think Sleepers is any better either. Okay. I get very annoyed with the fact that, and you could tell me if it's different on Yahoo, that like say I have 3 guys that I want, right? 3, and then I'm willing to drop 3 different players if I get all 3 of these guys. But the fact that to do that, you have to set up 9 different fabs, fab claims is like bunk. I know there's a better way. I'm not smart enough to think of it, but there is.
Dude, it's so frustrating. I'll tell you, like, especially
20 leagues.
Because like even like with Yahoo, it's the same thing. Like if you got to set up a fab, like for example, in one of my leagues, there's a fab. Kenneth Walker's out there, right? So I'm putting all my fab on him. Well, my next bid, because I have I think it's Derek Carr's on bye. So then I need a QB, and I'm dropping whatever bench player. Well, I'm going to drop a different guy, obviously, to try to pick up Geno Smith. And then, but the thing is like, if I spend all that 48, now I have a $0 bid for Geno. But if I don't spend the 48, then I got to figure out what kind of bid I want. And then, like, obviously, the deeper you go, it just like keeps getting more and more. Now, I will say, so NFC, I don't know if you play on any NFC, like NFFC, they're bigger on baseball, but they do like the Raz Slam and the Raz.
I remember Bowl. There's a huge thing where I saw a lot of people on Twitter doing the live drafts on there.
Yep. So the Raz Bowl is like one of the most popular ones for football on there. They have an interesting way because you can go in and like I just kind of figured out a little bit better this past year through baseball, but like they do like conditional bids, so you can like basically which player you're dropping first. Yeah, and then you just click like the conditional bid section, and then it like layers on like a waterfall, and you can like change the prices per one, and then like obviously then you can put like your second drop, so you're dropping 3 guys. So instead you don't have to actually do it all those times. You can just like click conditional and then click all the players that you would want to in order drop, and then you can adjust the prices on each one individually instead of like the whole thing.
See, dude,
it's so much better.
That is. And like I guess that was like what I was thinking here just a second too, and like similar but probably either worse or maybe just simplified. But like my thought is, okay, so say you spend 113 on a player. I'm thinking $1,000 leagues, obviously. 113 on a guy. Then you go to your next and you're like, okay, this guy's 87. Drop the same guy, and then automatically, because it's your second claim, your second highest amount, why doesn't it give you like a second guy, like a second slot? Like if this person doesn't get dropped, here's this one. And then if it was like your third claim, $43, why isn't it like, okay, if first guy wasn't dropped, if second guy wasn't dropped, if they were dropped, here's the third guy I want. Like just have me click all 3 of those guys in the same claim. That way I don't have to do 18 different claims. I don't know.
I agree. It should be able to just, you pick your order of what you want. And then, like you said, your first guy, you only have to pick 1 drop. Your second guy, you pick 2 drops, and you can click both of those guys, and you can change the dollars on each, knowing which one, what happens on which one. And then you just go through it all through there. And so let's say you have 4 different claims on your fourth person in your claim, you'll pick 4 different drops, and then order the money how you want it to be. And like you'd think that it would be, I mean, it's 2022, right? Like you'd think like it would be a pretty simple like programming issue. Like
I think what we should do is because we know ESPN isn't going to listen. Like I would love to work for ESPN one day, but like their platform is, as far as I'm concerned, is just they don't really care. Like it doesn't seem like they care. We should, until next season, hit up Sleeper occasionally. Like, can we please have some sort of fab priority? Because they would get on it, and they're all about the Twitter thing.
I was gonna say they're good about stuff. They really take the feedback. I mean, honestly, I know a ton of people would want that because like it's always a big complaint I hear from everyone is like, man, I gotta put it, if I want to put in this, I gotta put in 9 claims. I gotta put in, obviously it's just exponential every time. Like you're like, oh, now if you got 4 guys, you're putting in 16 claims. It's like,
and you're doing that through how many leagues? Like I am only in about 8 or 9, but like. I see people on here all the time. They're like, I'm in 30 leagues. And like, this is part of the reason why, because I know that I wouldn't do that for 30 leagues. I'm not doing it, dude.
Yeah. It's tough, dude. Like I think I'm in like 16 or 18 or something. And it's like, it's tough. And I have them on like all different platforms, like 5 or 6 different platforms. So like, it's so tough for me sometimes. Like usually Tuesday nights after we get done here, I usually pull up like my Fantasy Pros that has them linked all, and then like I just go through and like kind of do that, and then then I jump on my phone and get on the app and then like check through all my stuff and then move to the next one, make sure I'm hitting every one.
That is a grind.
It is.
That's another thing though. Like I wish there was an app that just connected them all, and you could kind of like feed your login information and say, I want to do this over here. That I don't know,
dude. You can, so on Fantasy Pros you can, but they don't really have like a great app for it in terms of that, at least I know of. But like on Fantasy Pros, my playbook or whatever,
I do have my teams linked there.
Yeah. I was gonna say,
can you actually add and drop from there though?
You can on the site, but I don't know about like doing anything like on an app or anything. And like I much prefer like the navigation on the apps most of the time. So like that's why I go to like my playbook or whatever, and then I just scroll through my teams essentially, look at like where they have their little top available whatever, and then like I kind of just like look at my team, set my lineup, see what I want to do for that, then move on to the next league, and then just go through that. But I don't think there's really a good I don't think there's a really good like app way. I'm sure there will be hopefully soon.
I think there's a lot of different pieces in fantasy football that are just going to keep expanding, and
definitely.
hopefully that's some of those things. Like it's just blowing up so much over the years. Like, I mean, this is saturated right now. What we're doing right now is saturated. Me personally, I'm late to it. You're at least like 5 or 6 years in.
It's still
I think right around
late.
there, right?
Yeah. About 4 or 5 years now.
Anyways, let's get to some of these waivers. It's kind of a big week for waivers. This is a good one. I mean, it just depends though. Like we see it on Twitter like crazy. We see it like they're not in my league, and they're probably not. Like there's a lot of guys that probably aren't. But there is some, and there's one that I'm looking at that you're going to talk about in this first group. Absolutely is probably in people's waivers in one QB league. So do you want to go over your QB waiver wires?
Yeah. So my top guy's Geno Smith. Never thought I'd be at this point, but here we are. And he's been insane, dude. Like he's been unreal. I think like a lot of the stuff I saw was like he's been like the best deep passer in the league. He has like the highest completion rate in the league. He's scored like 20. I know he was averaging 27, I think, over the last 3 in that range.
He had 25 last week, 32 2 weeks ago.
And I think it was like 25 or 6 or something in that range.
First 2 weeks were kind of low. They weren't bad games, but they were low fantasy wise. And the last 3 have been on fire.
Yeah, like that. Those first 2 weeks, it was like they were typical Seahawks, established run, super slow pace. They had run like the slowest pace, and then all of a sudden, week 3, they just turned up that tempo. Like it was unreal. It was a crazy shift. Like I never would have expected that. I mean, they've been so run heavy and slow paced for so many years. Like no one could have predicted all of a sudden Geno Smith, 32-year-old Geno Smith coming in, and they turn it up. And like he's like the best. It's one of the craziest. To me, it's like the craziest development of this year, honestly. But
yeah, and like I mean, like last year we saw Cordarrelle come out of nowhere. This year Geno has kind of been that thing. There was early reports saying Pete Carroll has 2 starting quarterbacks, which is like word for I have neither. I have none. Maybe that means Drew Lock is just sitting on there with a golden arm, just waiting to get in the game. But Geno, tall Russ. Like he plays a lot like Russ in certain aspects. His deep ball has looked a lot like Russ's, which Russ is of old. Yeah. But also, you know what's crazy about Geno is I think, and this is a long-term prediction, I think unfortunately Geno's career is exactly what's going to happen to Justin Fields. And I think that Justin Fields can develop and do something like this in future, but it's not happening in Bears. But go ahead, back to Geno or on to your other QBs, whatever.
Yeah, no, that is interesting. I mean, it definitely
because Geno was good coming out of college. Dude,
he was really
video
good.
game numbers in college. Like there was a game that it was like, I remember it all over social media. They talked about it. It's like a Madden game, his numbers.
Yeah.
I can't remember how many TDs it was, but it was insane.
He was insane. Like
was
I remember
West Virginia?
West Virginia, yeah. Because he came out, I think it was like a few years after like the Pat White, Steve Slayton era of West Virginia, which was like super. I remember loving that so much. But yeah, he was there and he was putting up big numbers. So he was legit. Like he was kind of like, it was kind of like he was like somewhat, obviously somewhat of a bust up to this point. And so
goes to the Jets in an organization that was, I mean, pretty much in the midst of a rebuild. Kind of funny. We talk about dynasty teams, kind of on the lower end of the rebuild, but like not fully committing.
Right.
And it just, some of these nasty situations screw quarterbacks up, but if you could come out like Geno did, and other QBs have, it's good.
Yeah.
It's nice.
Yeah. No, for sure. I definitely have honestly been loving it. And so I'm happy to see it for him. So, but yeah, after that, we got a few different guys that are kind of, Geno to me is kind of the clear cut guy. If he's out there, like
he's the one that I've been seeing.
Yeah. So like he's available, in like 65% of Yahoo leagues still. I think people have just been like slow to buy in because he is 32 on a team that no one expected to be good, and like he hasn't shown anything really much until this year. Well, late last year and stuff, but so yeah. I mean, is he the main guy for you as well? He's the top guy if you're
Easily.
looking for. Yeah.
Out of QBs, like if there might be some teams dropping Tua. I really believe that, especially if he's out another week. You could see teams dropping Tua. Even then, I still wonder, like, do you go Geno or Tua? Because like Geno's on a team with a terrible defense.
Yeah. And that's like, yeah,
Recipe for success fantasy wise.
It's great. It's great. Like whenever you got that, and we talked about it with like the Lions a lot early in the year. And
Jared Goff success, yeah.
Yeah. So like, you love seeing those guys. So yeah, to me, he's the clear cut guy too. Like you said, if Tua starts getting dropped, you could probably scoop him up as well, depending on your situation. But I would say there's a few other guys. None of them are like too exciting to me, but like if you're in a pinch, you got Carson Wentz. He started off real strong, hasn't been too great lately. Justin Fields. Yeah. Justin Fields. He's been struggling obviously this year for the most part, but he does run a good amount. So there's always a chance that, maybe he'll get a couple touchdowns in the game and do well that week. Jimmy G. He's got a nice matchup this week, but he is what he is. He's kind of limited in my opinion. And then Danny Dimes and Zach Wilson, both kind of these guys down at the end, like if you're desperate, where both of them more athletic than they get credit for. Both of them make a lot of bonehead mistakes, but they do sling it, and they can make some things happen. They have some big weeks sometimes, and they'll break off some big runs here and there. So there's worse options.
Yeah, and I think Danny Dimes has more upside than
Wilson.
The last four guys. Wilson, I think he has more upside than Fields, and I think he has more upside than Jimmy G when his weapons come back. Like he's gonna be getting some weapons back. Like we don't know what Wan'Dale is gonna look like. Hopefully Tony's out there eventually, but I don't even count on that. But at least Wan'Dale will be back. That's gonna help. Barkley's in the backfield. Like at least he'll have some wide receivers other than Darius Slayton out there.
Yeah, for sure. No, I definitely, Geno, like I said, Geno's the top guy. I think honestly, Danny Dimes would be next for me. Of the group,
there's some high upside there.
Yeah, like I've always liked him more than most people for fantasy, just because he does run a bit, and obviously he can dump it down to Saquon, let him take it off, or do things like that. So I actually would prioritize him over the rest of that group, aside from Geno. But so yeah, I think we're probably on the same page there. I think.
How about your RBs? Who are you looking at RB wise?
So RB wise, there's clear cut guy in my opinion, and everyone's opinion is Kenneth Walker.
Not in my leagues, baby.
I was gonna say all the not in my leagues people are out there in full force. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's specifically mine because I have stashed him in far too many teams.
No, it's fair, and that's the thing. Is we talk about it every week how it's tough, like to really cater to what you're trying to do, and like. It was shocking to me to see how low owned he was. Like I thought
I picked him up in a couple.
Well, that's the thing is a lot of people actually, they were dropping him early on because Penny was getting more of the work. Walker was banged up himself. Then, we saw the first 2 weeks we were talking about how slow and unfantasy friendly that offense looked.
Yeah.
So like you got a hurt guy that's not playing like anything at all, and he's got the other guy playing pretty well, but still not putting up fantasy points. So you're like thinking to yourself, like, this guy's worthless. Like he's not really gonna be much.
His ceiling is 6.
Right. And so then all of a sudden, though, this is the offense turns up. It's super fantasy friendly environment. Penny goes down for the year, and now you're last man standing with a really like elite prospect running back. So it's like now things have flipped.
Offense.
Yeah. So like, dude, I recommended to everyone on Twitter everywhere. I'm like, empty the clip, like straight up. Anywhere he's available for me, I'm putting 100% of my fab in every single league. Like he's only available in a couple of my leagues, and I put all my fab. I don't even care. Like it's just not. I'm not even messing around at this point. Like I don't think there's going to be a guy that comes up along on the wire. I mean, there's a few other like running backs that like have this kind of upside as like contingent, like handcuff upside backups, like, but you can't bank on those ever coming through. Like,
Yeah.
this one's here and now, and we're already in week 6. Like, I'm doing it. And then I don't know about you. Like, obviously you have them in most of your
I
leagues.
really
So.
do have them in
Yeah.
almost all of my leagues. Neither of my dynasty. I actually traded very early, week 3. He got packaged in a deal where I'm just selling out for the win.
Okay.
So I'm a little sad about that now. But
Yeah.
all my redrafts, I don't have them in one, and I think I'm number 1 waiver priority this week. So I'll get them. It's not a fab, so I'll just easily scoop them
That's
up and then be on my way.
That's the best, dude. That's why I always tell people too, like, dude, like people will be asking me, DMing me all the time on Twitter or whatever, and they're like, "Hey, should I put in my fat, or should I use my waiver on this defense this week?" I'm like, "No, hell no. Like,
Just pick up a free agent.
just pick up a free agent. Wait till waivers run." And I'm like stingy with my waiver on that, and I'm like there's
I
guys.
spend fab on defenses, but I would not use my waiver on it.
Yeah, same. And I don't spend much. I will say that. I don't spend very much. But like, yeah, when it comes to, that's the one thing I love about Fab too, is you can really cater it to, you can, how you want it. But yeah, like when it comes to waiver, dude, I hang on to that thing. Like, dude, I don't even,
so you can get this.
yeah, exactly.
And
like,
it usually comes earlier in the season.
yeah. Like, for example, too, I had a guy today asking me, he said he's number 1 waiver, and he asked me if he should use it on Geno. But he says he has Justin Herbert. And I'm like, no, like, don't do that, dude. Like, and he's like, yeah, but I need a bye week replacement for Herbert when he goes on bye. I'm like, dude, just hold on to that waiver. Wait. If someone picks up Geno, oh well. Like, you do not want to use that waiver on a bye week backup QB. Like, do not use that. And I was like pleading with him. And he was like really adamant he was going to do it. I'm like, dude, do not do this. Please do not do this. I was like, don't do it. Like, and I was like, you don't need that. I was like, save it for a high upside running back or receiver that comes on the wire. Like for me, I think I mentioned it earlier in the year. Like, I'm selectively aggressive. Like, I rarely use my fab or waiver unless it's someone I really believe in. I'll do low dollar bids on fab guys, like defenses and just little pieces here and there. But
you saying spend that money on KW3, or KW3 is the truth then. Like, do it.
Oh yeah, for sure, dude.
If you're spending, see now, like, I wanted to get some of my exposure down, just like kind of insurance. Hedge a couple of these. Now they got like a free lottery. Sell maybe a couple, maybe 1 or 2, but I don't know, man. You're talking me into just keep it and see what happens.
Yeah, it's tough. I mean, where will you put him, like, rest of the year? I guess if you were like him or Zeke.
Him.
Yeah, that's me too. Him or Najee.
Him.
Yeah, me too. It's like, dude, it's like, I mean, really the only guys that I put ahead of him are like
him or Joe Mixon.
I still got to go Joe Mixon, but
because Joe Mixon's still getting that work, so that makes sense.
Right. Yeah, like I still would take Joe Mixon. I'll still take Dalvin, CMC. All the clear cut guys.
Ramondre is another one. I know he's probably not on your waivers just because he would have. If he would have got picked up within the past 2 weeks. But like, he's another one. Like, his time is a little more limited. Like, KW3 got the reins for the whole season, or what we're expecting. Although I did have, I wanted to temper some expectations. Now we're going to skip our KW3 talk later that we have planned out. I do want to temper some expectations with Kenneth Walker III. And all I'll say is this. Pete Carroll has a quote saying DJ Dallas is going to be a lot more involved in this offense moving forward. What that means, I don't know if it's much. I know it dents. What that dent looks like, I don't know. It dents his pass catching work. It has to.
Yeah, and that's a little bit worrisome. So
yes,
I think it was. I don't know if you saw the splits or not, but I think it was like 15 snaps to like 3 snaps between them when after Penny went out. I'm pretty sure, but I think all 3 of those were like clear cut passing situations.
Yeah, and that's going to be a pain in your ass the whole season, I think.
Yeah.
But like Kenneth Walker I don't expect him to be what Lenny is receiving, or
Right.
even what the targets that Mixon gets while he's in. Like you're hoping for probably 2 to 4 weekly.
That's I was gonna say, like, I'm hoping for, I was gonna say, I was like,
if it's
my
0,
thought was
that
like,
part's bad.
right, and that's the worry I had with Penny heading into the year, but
And which he was pretty much getting like 1 to 0, like maybe 1 to 2. Max.
And that's what and then like if you look at Penny's game log, dude, it was like 3 or 4 single digit games, and then that monster game when they had the game script where he was, playing against a bad defense, game script. So like the thing is, I always thought Penny was a talented running back, and I think Walker is a talented running back. And so I saw on Twitter there was some debate. I think it was Frank Amarante was talking because he was a big Penny guy.
He loves Penny.
Yeah,
he was like, I'm blocking anybody that slanders Penny because this injury.
I know, right? And I don't blame him because, like,
I get it.
Honestly, anytime, like, it sucks going down, like when a guy goes down with injury, like it just sucks. But so like the thing is though, like I was gonna comment, but I didn't really want to just get into a convo with it and about it or an argument about it. And he was saying, I saw him say something like, "What was the difference between like everyone's all about Walker, and like all those same people were all against Penny, and what's the difference? The same situation." To me, the difference in the situation is now, like before, Penny had Walker behind him, looming to steal work. Walker doesn't have. I mean, he has DJ Dallas, but like.
We know what DJ Dallas is.
Right. You have DJ Dallas stealing work versus Kenneth Walker stealing work. Like Walker's the more like when it's a split, it's the same reason like when people talk about like Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt. Like if Chubb goes down, people will put Hunt higher than they had Chubb, even if Chubb is more talented, just because now Hunt is getting like pass work and and that's the thing is like that's the upside for him. But like you said, there is some damper, little rain on the parade with if he doesn't get that pass work. I do think though, like I'd be hoping for like 3 to 4 targets and expecting 2 to 3 targets a game. Like that's kind of where I'm at with it. So it's the same thing as you said.
You'd be happy with that.
Yeah.
I see on your list you have Raheem Mostert's at 70% of leagues. He's rostered in 70%, right? Or he's available in 70.
He's rostered. I basically threw him on there just as like a
if he's out there, grab him.
Yeah, he's still second to Walker to me, but even though he's available in less leagues, he's still second. But it just looks like he took over the backfield at this point.
Rashad White is on here, 34% roster. I think this is a great one because what we just saw with KW3, if this happens with Lenny, guess who your number 1 waiver wire is going to be? It's going to be
for
Rashad.
Sure.
And it's like clear cut, great offense to have.
Yeah, dude. I to me, I don't know about you, but like to me, I don't know if there's a higher upside stash.
Handcuff.
Yeah,
I agree.
Like he might be the highest. Like it's
like you may even say Madison, but like I think Rashad's better than Madison.
Yeah, and not only that, but like we see what Tom Brady like does with the like how much he checks down.
Yeah, worse.
And yeah, exactly. And like we see how much he checks down, and look how much pass work Lenny's getting, and like Lenny's never
Rashad's
been like
getting pass work right now too.
I know, it's crazy, and like Lenny's never like people like even last year when he got all the pass work, like he wasn't like doing great things with it, or wasn't like graded highly or anything, and like he's never been like graded really highly. But like if you have Tom Brady's trust there, like you're gonna get that work. So like Rashad is a guy, if he's out there like and you have the bench spot, put him on your bench because like you said, Lenny goes down, people will be emptying the fab for Rashad White. So get him before, and then that way you don't have to.
Your next one is Eno Benjamin, 12% rostered. This is a great one. Like, look, you're going to look at this list. Rashad White is probably rostered. Raheem Mostert's probably rostered. Kenneth Walker is probably rostered. Eno Benjamin in a lot of leagues is available.
Yep.
James Conner just hurt his ribs. Darrell Williams is banged up. There's a third guy. I can't think of who the third guy is right now.
Keontae Ingram, maybe?
No, I think it was another RB is also banged up. So
okay.
Arizona's scrambling right now. They're signing guys. I think they just signed Tyson Williams and another running back.
Yeah, I
Sorry, I'm
saw.
blanking on these.
I'm blanking on that one too. The next one, I know what you're talking about though.
Eno's like one of those guys where you're like, okay, the opportunity is going to be there.
Hmm.
Not confident, not necessarily confident in skill. I don't know. Like
Right.
he has never had flashes, but again, some RBs are just like, I need to get rolling. I need to get moving.
Yeah.
I can't just do this on 4 carries. That's fine. Might be one of those RBs, but also like considering the fact that D-Hop is coming back soon. We don't know how the ribs apparently he has avoided major injury, but like ribs take some time to heal.
Yeah.
We saw Alvin Kamara, at least took like 3 weeks for him. Get Connor gets banged up quite a bit. I think he's another one that like this may be a limited time that he's out there, but Connor hasn't been anything that like if went off could make a like am I crazy for saying that like could steal this job? Like Connor's been bad.
Yeah. I don't think it's crazy. I
It would have
was
to be really good play.
right. I was admittedly higher on Connor than consensus heading into the year. I had him as basically the last guy before it was like a drop off.
It's very odd for you to do that. Like it's funny that, and I say this as a compliment because like you would look at this, you'd be like, all these TDs, what are the chances that he reproduces this? I don't know if I'm buying, but also he gets his passing work, so that checks off your box. But like the TDs, man, they're just not there, and the offense is just out of whack.
Right, and that's where. So my logic heading in, I figured on touchdown regression. I was like, there's no way he's going to get that much. I mean, there's always the possibility, but like very likely he was coming down in touchdowns. But I figured even if he dropped off,
more receptions.
Yeah, more receptions. No Edmonds, no D-Hop, especially D-Hop obviously in the early of the year, but no Edmonds all year. Like I figured he was going to take on a lot more of the passing role because we saw it last year when Edmonds was gone that he was taking on the passing role.
Yeah.
And like I just didn't bank on this offense being this bad, basically. Like so far. I mean, they've been pretty brutal so far. And Connor, I never thought Connor was like a great running back. I just thought, okay, he's one of the last one. Yeah, I was like, he's one of the last ones that might have a full 3 down like role, getting pass work, getting early work in a good offense. And I was like, okay, he's the last guy. I can get him in like the 4th round in leagues. I was like, so that's why I was getting him a good amount, but obviously it hasn't been good so far. So I don't think it's crazy at all. Like, I mean, especially if he has a history of injuries too. So like, how I feel about injuries. Like I don't take into account like injuries as much heading in if they're healthy, but once they're hurt, then like I push them down far. Yeah. And so like, especially with a guy that has a history of injuries, once they start getting hurt, like I think then that starts compounding and like, they take longer. Like we see it with Keenan Allen, dude. Like
one year it was like Alvin Kamara got hurt and it was like the first time he ever got hurt. I think it was like 2019 or something. And or 22. It was a while before like he had any sort of injury. And they were like, Alvin Kamara just cracked the injury seal. And I was like, that's so real. Dude, and it is. Like
it really is.
Especially in season. Like that's where it really hits.
And that's why, dude, like in the season, like what I always tell people, like, dude, once they do crack that injury seal, like if you have someone that's optimistic about them, and they see like Keenan Allen this year for a perfect example,
it's gonna be tough.
He had that one he was supposed to miss like 1 week and he's been out 4 now. And like because the thing is
Darren
like
Waller.
Yep. I mean, I'm worried about that too because like
it's the same preseason injury. It's
and that's the thing is like once you do it, like
there's such about Kyle Pitts.
I know, me too, dude. Like once you do it, once it happens, like anyone who's had an injury knows like you're optimistic about when they're going to come back, but like almost always it takes longer than that. Not only that, but then if you have one little tweak, now you're set back even further. And like Keenan Allen, obviously he already had that setback. So it's like James Conner could just be a guy that's just like has a injury derailed season.
You're absolutely right with that. And in addition, before we move on here, they usually overcompensate. If you're overcompensating on your knee, you might blow out your Achilles. I think and I don't mean to bring this up, it's been too soon. Sterling Shepard is somebody that I think came back a little bit too soon, overcompensated probably a little bit, or that leg wasn't ready because if I'm not mistaken, it was the same leg that he tore his ACL.
Yep.
that he tore his Achilles. So it's sad, and it really sucks. And like thoughts and prayers go out to him. But man, like it does make you want to be like, okay, I'm bailing.
Yep.
I'm gonna run through these couple bit. Mike Boone, 36% rostered. We talked about him plenty. Great. He could be great if MG3 goes down. Jalen Warren, I see you have on this list. And the only thing I'll say is I think this is a wasted stash. I get it. The numbers are increasing. Like everything like with his role in this offense is increasing. No way he overtakes Najee this year.
Well, no, yeah, definitely not. To me, he's
like, do you want this?
True. No, it's fair. To me, he's like the generic discount version of Rashad White, essentially. Like he's gonna be like that guy. Like
but they're not even dumping off to Najee.
Right, but it's, to me, it's like the same concept of Kenneth Walker versus Penny, where Penny like wasn't getting dump offs, but Kenneth Walker, we're probably gonna like. I think Kenneth Walker is gonna get more pass work than Penny did in the role.
Yeah.
And then I think Jalen Warren's already getting more pass work.
I know.
So like if he gets the first down work and the pass work, it's like what Najee had last year but in a worse offense.
And to your point, like Warren Tomlin does he's very much I don't really need a committee. I'll just do
right.
One. And he did it with Benny Snell.
Right. And that's why I don't really buy into like people were talking about like Jalen Warren recently.
Deep roster.
Yeah, Jalen Warren getting like, more standalone value because he's getting more stuff. But like, no, to me, he's simply a handcuff stash, and he is a lesser upside handcuff stash compared to the ones we talked about. That's where it is for me. But I do agree with you though. Like if he does take over that role and he doesn't get the password, like the password goes to someone else, kind of like it has been for Najee, then obviously Najee's a more talented guy than Warren, and you're not going to want the less talented guy if the more talented guy is not doing anything.
Yep. JD McKissick 27% and Tevin Coleman 0%, which is funny. He came out of nowhere, like he's back. Yeah. Another thing was like he's not on my priority, me personally, this week,
same.
unless it's like super deep, but like it was crazy. Let's go to your wife.
I was gonna say no. One of the main reasons I put him on there too, I had to give him a little shout out. He was my back when I was like big into Madden and I was like playing like high level Madden and stuff like big time.
Yeah,
he was one of my favorites, dude. Like I used to literally choose whichever team he was on because he was like always like one of the fastest, maybe the fastest running back in Madden for years in a row. Like so, I played with the Falcons for a long time. I played with the 49ers. When they had him, like I was always going. Tevin Coleman was my guy, dude. So I was like, when I saw him out there getting work, scoring touchdowns, all of a sudden out of nowhere, I was like, man, this is nostalgia right here.
Let's go to wide receiver. I want you out of this list to pick out one of the guys that you're seeing and noticing you're putting in a lot of fab orders for, or a lot of waiver claims for. So I know that the percentages and stuff, but I just want your take on who you would. In some of your leagues, most of your leagues, who you're seeing across the board, you're like, man, I'm going for this guy a lot because he's out there.
So for me, out of the group, Jacoby Myers is my favorite.
Have you seen him? So you've seen him a ton?
He's in a few of my leagues.
Okay.
He's 48% rostered right now. So he's probably not available in I would say probably most of your 12 teamers, especially if it's a start 3 wide receiver league. I would say he's probably available more in 10 teamers or maybe even some 12 teamers start 2 wide receiver. But dude, like I've been maybe it's just because I've been on Jacoby Myers for a long time. Like I liked him past couple years and everything. But dude, all this dude does is just rack up targets. Like I think he's like second or third in target share this year. Like
top 5 in PFF wide receiver grades.
I know, I saw that too. I was like, hey, we were talking about that in the Discord.
Yeah.
It's funny, but he's right now he's 4th in the NFL in target share at almost 32%. His target rate is 39%. Like dude, I think it was even last year he was like top 20. He had almost a 25% target share. It was top 24 the year before with a 23% target share. And I think this year his yards per route run I think it's number 2 in the NFL, yards per route run, 3.78 yards per route run, which that's a metric like to me, I weigh pretty heavily. Like if you're drawing targets and then you also are doing a really high level yards per route run, like that to me is like really, really telling.
Yeah, you're
So I
getting
think
open. You're
I
beating
think
coverage.
I think he's a lot better than people give him credit for. Like, I don't know why. Like, I mean, I do know why, because he didn't score a lot of touchdowns really last couple years, and then early on this year, he had good games, but then he got hurt. So then people like are just he's just that guy that like people like don't really care about that much. They dropped him.
Yeah.
But yeah, he would be my main priority if he's out there. I don't know if he the main one for you, or would you have him a little bit lower than?
See, my thing is like I haven't seen Jacoby in any of the leagues, even like some of the 10 team. The most interesting one, like Duvernay, you have on your list 62%, George Pickens 55. Duvernay is probably gone in most, but he was available beginning. George Pickens is gone. I really like the Alec Pierce one. It's gonna be tough to see, like to foresee him ever hitting your lineup, but man, he looks good for a rookie. Like he looked really good on Thursday night in the most horrific game ever.
Yeah.
But he's coming along. He's fast.
Yeah.
He's super fast. He's big. Man, Dynasty, this is an asset that I would love to have. So like Dynasty, he's high priority if he's out there. He was likely drafted though.
Yeah, that's the thing. Yeah, I was gonna say in Dynasty he probably is on most rosters. You might be able to still kind of maybe buy low a little bit.
I think so.
I
sold him kind of low. I added him to a package.
Yeah, and you can get deals done like that, especially if you're rebuilding. It would be a nice guy to get because he does look good. I've been surprised by him because I wasn't expecting anything out of him this year. Like I was not expecting anything. Like I had made some bets with people actually, Alec Pierce versus whoever, basically, and I was like, this guy's not gonna do anything this year. Was my thought. I was like, he seems like more of a project, and he's looked really, really good so far. So
outside of Chris Olave, like we had moments of Drake London, we had moments of Garrett Wilson. Like Alec Pierce is up there, not as high as those three that I just named, but like Garrett Wilson's situation's bad.
Yeah,
it's Elijah. Well, it is the Elijah Moore effect. Like Zach Wilson just kind of ruins wide receivers, and then Drake London's kind of in a bad situation. Like this isn't.
Yeah.
This is all not great. Like without Cordarrelle, that team looks bad. The Falcons look bad. So I see you have Rondale Moore on here, 18%. He is available. Michael Gallup, 51%. Likely, I haven't seen him a lot. Corey Davis, 49%. He's in some, out of some. I know I'm answering this like we're not talking about percentages, but I just feel like I have my leagues like are typically good indication of what like other people's are. I think we're above casual.
Right.
Anyways, Nico Collins, I see him out there, 22%. Randall Cobb, 3%. Darius Slayton, 0%. The Darius Slayton 0% one kind of surprised me. If none of these wide receivers are back, I think he's somebody, if you're kind of desperate, could plug into your lineup.
Yeah, I put him in. I put in a claim for Slayton in some deeper leagues. Like he's kind of like the main guy for me if you're in a deeper league or really need some help.
Get targets.
Yeah, exactly. So
I actually think he's like one of the most underrated wide receivers in the NFL. I'm not kidding about that.
No, that's fair,
and
dude. Like, he produced when he was out there. Like
you don't know why he's getting like pushed behind like Richie James and like some of these other like I get the rookies like Tony obviously he's not a rookie, he looks great. Wandell, you just spent all this capital, but like Darius Slayton could be your wide receiver 3. Like I seen Darius Slayton look good and get open a lot.
Yeah, I don't understand it. Like I don't understand it either. Like what is going on like with this wide receiver group? But yeah, I don't mind putting Slayton in there. I like Rondale a little bit too. I think I like Rondale more than most people but like I think it's just like Rondale. Yeah, I think he's gadgety, and I get it that people don't like that, but like. To me, I kind of do like that because that's manufactured touches, like designed to get him the ball. Like I love, like it was like back in the day. I know.
Manufactured touches are always like, if they have to see, like you say it that way, you say it the optimistic way. Let me give the pessimistic view. If I have to manufacture touches to get you the ball, that means you're not getting open. That's my exact thought. And like D-Hop coming back, it's going to be D-Hop, Hollywood, Ertz. Does that make Rondale the fourth option that's getting these end arounds? It's the Christian Watson thing. Like if you're manufacturing those touches, I don't know if I want in anymore.
It's possible. That's very possible for sure. Like, I definitely like him more for this week than for the rest of the season. Just obviously last week without Hopkins. But like, so if you need if you're in a pinch this week specifically, like I like him higher than some of these guys just because they're playing Seattle and no Hopkins. So like, he reminds me of like a poor man's version of Percy Harvin in a sense where Percy used to always get these like screen passes, bubble screens, and he would just break things. And like Rondale really hasn't done much of that breaking things, but like he gets those kind of looks, and like those are just cheap fantasy points. And like this past week, he had like I don't know 8 targets or something, 8 targets, 7 catches, somewhere in that. I knew he had double-digit points. So like this week,
10, I think he only had 10 points, but double-digit. You're right.
Yeah. So this week I like him a little bit more than a lot of people. So
tight ends, any tight ends you're looking at on the waivers?
Man, it's tough. I don't love it. It's like the same group we're always looking at, basically just playing matchups between like a Hurst, Irv, Ingram. Yeah,
and like Taysom Hill's kind of interesting.
I know, yeah.
I get it after like he's the one that's available in a lot of mine. I get it. It's after a big, huge game, but like it seems like they're gonna keep doing this.
I know. I'm so torn on him. He's the one where I'm like, I don't know if I buy it or not. Like, I definitely don't buy it to that degree. Obviously,
I don't buy it to that. Yeah, I agree. He's gonna be a vulture to Alvin Kamara.
God, it's frustrating.
Let's get into some of these games before we run out of time here. We got Bears versus Vikings. The Vikings won 29-22. Kirk started off on fire on this one. Like he was like 17 for 17. Justin Jefferson should have had a TD early game. I want to say there was a flag on the play. It was BS. Not BS, but he should have had a TD. Funny, I put this in here. Bold take is that Fields is a baller that would never get a full chance because his team is so shit. Like he really looked pretty good by himself, but he has such a bad team. He had a huge run in this game, get for a TD, got called back, early fourth. It would have gave the Bears a lead. Khalil Herbert is no longer relevant. Apparently, they did this last year. They did it again. This leads me to the David Montgomery question. So he didn't run great, did a lot of work in the passing game. This might be where he does damage for fantasy due to Fields checking down to him, due to Fields not having options. Is he somebody you're targeting for trades?
Yeah, like I think so. I think so. Yeah, I think so because it's funny. He's always that guy that like is underrated draft season, and then as players start falling off that like we had hope for, promise for, there's David Montgomery just getting steady work and being just a solid RB2 basically. And and especially when people fall off, then it's like that becomes more valuable. So he is the same thing I feel like that he's been the past couple of years where he's that volume guy. The one worry I had about him heading into the year was if he was going to get pass work, because generally running quarterbacks will take off running rather than checking down. And Fields does take off running, but it's encouraging to see him still getting the pass work. So if that pass work continues, then I'm definitely buying. I'm cautiously optimistic right now and cautiously buying. But yeah, I think it's someone to explore trades for targeting.
I agree. This offense is pretty rough. Like we've been saying for a while, Mooney's a drop, right? Like he made an insane grab in this game. Like it was insane.
Yeah, it was nasty.
It was. And it's starting to make me realize like more and more this dude might be super talented, and he's just like I don't want to put anything on Fields because if you ever hear me talk about the Bears, I'm never probably going to blame Justin Fields. But their offensive line is terrible. It doesn't allow the plays to develop. Their offensive line, I think, is last in the league.
Yeah, it might be. Yeah.
I think they're starting to move around some pieces on that offensive line. Doesn't let the plays develop. Doesn't let anything happen where this team will have any success. And I think this is all by design. I thought the Bears were trying to tank, and then Justin Fields won them a couple games. Mooney's droppable. Long story short, maybe this is the kiss of death where like every time I say that about a player, they come back and look great.
I hope so. I've been hanging on, and I've moved on in a couple leagues, but I've been hanging on in a lot of leagues just because not a ton out there in the leagues that I'm hanging on in. So it's like
it has to make sense, right? Like it's not for nothing. Like it's
right.
not to be like, oh, screw you.
Yeah, and like the same thing that I always ask going back, like, you know, comparing them to the waiver wire guys, like, would you rather have Jacoby or?
And you got to go Jacoby.
Yeah, I agree. Pierce or him.
I think you still go Mooney. I think.
See, that's how I feel. Like I think Pierce. Like I think Mooney has more upside. Like just we saw last year what he could do,
and he's the number one. Like he's one. Here's technically three if you go Michael Pittman, JT, and on a also terrible offensive line team where these players can't develop as much either. And
with a quarterback like with Matt Ryan who's not looking good. So like to me, like I think I still would rather have Mooney. So like that's the thing is like Pierce. A lot of times we talked about,
but
like
if we're talking RBs though, like Eno Benjamin, I might rather have.
Yeah,
obviously KW3.
Yep. Mostert for sure. Rashad. I'd rather stash Rashad than.
See, like the RBs is where it gets a little bit more hectic because you're actually like there's different type of value here.
Right. Because to me, like Rashad has more upside than Mooney. So like if you have enough wide receivers where you really don't foresee having to use Mooney, I would drop him for Rashad White.
Flipping over to Vikings, Adam Thielen had a very mediocre, if I'm not mistaken, kind of not great game. He's very much a bye week fill-in at this point. Do you agree?
Yeah, I feel like he's kind of like gotten like slowly worse each year. He's just like solid. He's just like always solid, and he always has been living off touchdowns and like I don't know. I agree. Like he's someone you're not gonna really feel excited about putting in your lineup. Yeah. So like, but at the same time, if you have him and you don't have other options, you don't feel terrible about it either.
Yeah, it's like because it's it's getting to the point where it's boom or bust. We have 6.6, 9.2, 18.1, 15.2, 6.7. Like the ceiling has lowered. I don't know if we're going to see a 27-point game from Thielen this year. The floor is low as well. Like it's lowered, like 6, 5, 4. A lot of buys coming up. I think he's a bye week fill-in. If I have options, I'm probably not putting him in my flex. The offense is inconsistent and Kirk can be inconsistent. Irv Smith Jr., this was his best game of the year and it was 4 for 42. Question I have for you, are you stashing?
No, I mean, even with how bad tight end is, like I don't think he's like I don't want to play him, but like at the same time, like tight end is so bad that like you might not have much better options than Irv, because at least he does run some routes and get some targets. So, if it's between like Irv and Gesicki, I'm taking Irv or something, but like it's this guy I'm trying not to play if I don't have to. And if I have for example, I plugged him in last week I have Pitts in a ton of leagues. So I, in those leagues where Pitts was out and I could put Pitts on the IR or I had to fill in someone, I went to Irv in a lot of spots. And like in those PBR leagues, he got me 8 points or whatever. It wasn't like
you're happy with that,
right? For filling in, but like this week, when I'm putting in waivers, I'm putting in to drop Irv in a lot of them. Like, or if I had to clear the roster spot already, I'd probably already dropped Irv to clear the roster spot, bring Pitts back, and then if Pitts, for example, doesn't play, then I'll figure it out later in the week. It's not like a guy I'm like, oh, I got to hold Irv.
Hayden Hurst or Irv Smith?
I'm taking Hayden Hurst this week.
I think I'd take him for the rest of the season until things change.
That's
If you
fair
ask me
too.
right now.
That's fair too. I would too. And a lot of that to me, someone asked me almost this exact same question and on Twitter today, and I told them basically because they said Hayden Hurst or I think they said Hayden Hurst or Irv Smith, and I said Hayden Hurst, and then they said rest of the season or this week, and I said, well, these guys are stream. My answer was these guys are stream level guys, so I honestly don't even think about it from a year like a rest of season standpoint because I
The
might.
upside's there for Hurst though, right? Like
I do agree. Like Hurst, obviously, he's gotten 3 games of 7+ targets. So,
yeah,
I do think he's
team
more
that throws a lot.
involved, and it's a team that throws more, and they're
Not a
probably
great
going to be high
defense.
scoring. Yeah.
Yep.
So I do agree. Like if I had to give you a rest of the season, but yeah, like I said, like I told that person, I'm like, these are all stream level guys, so I'm taking them all. Like all these guys, like I'm gonna basically the player that I tell you this week is almost always going to be the player I'm going to tell you rest of the season because it may change so much anyway that I'm dropping all of them. Like,
yep. Going to Titans versus Commanders. The Titans won this one, but barely. 21-7. The Commanders really should have won it. They blew it at the goal line they had no timeouts. They had to throw 3 straight passes for a moment. I told you I was rewatching this game, watching it on my tablet. I'm like, Ron, what are you doing? Run the ball, run the ball. And I was like, I looked down, saw there was no timeouts left. They had like 18 seconds. I was like, okay, that's risky biz. Have fun with Carson Wentz in the end zone. Of course, Carson Wentz threw a pick.
Classic.
Derrick Henry is going to be a machine with the lack of offensive weapons, as we saw in this game. I think Washington offers upside with a lot of players with how bad their defense has been, but it hasn't really paid off. Like you look at Curtis Samuel and you look at T-Mac and like it's flex worthy every week. And like it hasn't really changed. Like T-Mac usually is like 2 for 40, 2 for 50 going into the fourth quarter. And then next thing you know, he finishes with like a 6 for 90 game, no TDs. Like neither of them are scoring touchdowns. But before we get into Washington, let's go to Titans. You have Robert Woods. Is he droppable for you or what are you doing?
Yeah. I mean,
one big week out of this guy, huh?
Yeah, that was the thing. He's only had one big week. I thought, it seemed promising after Burks went down for him in terms of his prospects. I have no problem, especially heading into a bye week. I have no problem dropping him if you need to make the space. I don't think there's a ton of upside here, but at the same time, it's not like a guy I'm like, I have to drop, it's just a guy basically. It's like, whatever.
There's no glam here for me. Like I have no interest on stashing him. None. I like Robert Woods. I know you said you loved him at one point and like, it just, this offense is not it if your name isn't AJ Brown or hopefully one day Treylon Burks.
Right. I agree.
And obviously Derrick Henry. You wrote here 3 straight 25-point games, including 13-10. Oh, including a 13 targets. I'm assuming?
13 targets. Yeah.
10. Did he have 10? Is this or is this 3 weeks ago?
These 3 weeks, he has had 13 targets, 10 receptions, and 121 yards.
Like total?
Yeah, over the course of the 3.
You love that.
Dude, I love that because like that was the big whole bugaboo with him, like, dude, I mean, just extrapolating that out a little bit. If we play the whole extrapolation game, you're looking at nearly 74 targets over the course of a 17 game season. Let's see what his receptions here. 57 receptions. If he got the same pace over the last as what he's gotten over the last 3 games, if they involve him as much as they have over the last 3 games the rest of the year, he's gonna end up with near 50 receptions for a guy that was like getting like 25 on the year. Like, dude. And he was like, when he was 20, getting like 20, 25, he was one of the best points per game in the league. Now imagine Derrick Henry with 50 plus receptions. He might be the best player in the league. Like, dude, like he's gonna quickly turn from like a guy I've always been lower on to a guy that I'm like thinking that he might be number 1 overall type guy.
I mean, dude, it was crazy to me. It was crazy in preseason where like everyone was like, all right, Derrick Henry's done. I am the biggest ageist in NFL, right? Like I am the worst at it. I draft that way. I do all of it. Like I see him turn 27 and I'm like Leo with fantasy football, bro. I'm Leo. But like to me, when we look at King Henry and there was all this, like he's done, he's washed up, and I get your point with the passing. It blew my mind, and I'm glad he's out there dominating. I don't think there's an offer that you can put on the board for him that people are going to take. I think the insight both of us are saying is this dude might go off for at least the month of October with no wide receiver help really, and him also doing his normal workload.
Dude, it's crazy too, because like if he seriously ends the year with 50 plus catches and like his pace right now would have been like 600 plus 700 plus receiving yards. Like, dude, this dude was getting, he was what, a 2,000 yard rusher? Like, could you imagine this dude with like 15,
400, 500 yards?
Yeah. Like
receiving
and like 50 catches, 500 receiving yards and close to 2,000. Like, I mean, obviously can't expect 2,000 rushing yards, but like 1,500 to 2,000 rushing yards, all those touchdowns, like straight up monster. Like, and it raises his floor and upside on a weekly basis, like if he's getting involved, and they seem like they really want to involve him, which is something I never understood why they didn't before. Like why would you not get this guy out on a swing route or something, get the ball in his hands while he's running full speed head on with a corner? Like you're gonna put this monster running like a freight train straight into a cornerback. Like that seems good to me. Like why? Yep. I don't understand why offensive coordinators didn't try to do that like 5 to 10 times a game, dude. Like
it's just hard, man. Like the dude is already carrying the ball. Like there was a season where he had 392, I think.
True. Yeah.
Like that's a ton. Maybe that was total touches, but like the dude is already getting a massive amount of workload.
True. Yeah. I don't know. I just feel like
it's got to be to spell that. And I think Hilliard, who we don't really talk about here, and we didn't talk on the waivers, it's slightly sneaky. Slightly.
Yeah, for sure. He I think he got a touchdown, right? He got a touchdown reception, and he's looked good in the passing game too. Like he's broke off some big plays and things like that. So, yeah, it's interesting. But yeah, I agree. Like, I mean, honestly, just thinking about with Henry moving forward, where would you have him? Like.
Oh, dude,
among running backs, top three. Yeah.
I think this passing work comes down a little bit with Burks healthy. I do think they want to get Burks involved. I know that's kind of like wishful thinking, right? But
do you think would you take Jonathan Taylor or
it's Derrick Henry?
Yeah, that's fair.
It's not fair. I wouldn't even I don't think I'm hesitating. Jonathan Taylor doesn't look good, and the offensive line doesn't look good.
Yeah, no, that's fair. Would you take
Eckler probably before Henry?
Okay, yeah. I was gonna say I still have Eckler probably above, especially in
it would probably be Eckler. It would probably be Barkley. Kind of crazy. I think Barkley's the. Oh man, I mean, I would be happy with any of them, but like, I think Barkley. Damn, dude, is Henry number one?
It's close, honestly. I mean,
it's Barkley, Eckler, and Henry for me.
I still have CMC up there, but I know you're lesser on him than I am.
Well, I'm just worried about what's coming next.
No, it's fair. I just love like CMC. Like obviously, like
he doesn't run as well as he runs as well as Eckler.
Yeah, like he runs as well as Eckler. He's getting close to the amount of pass work. The offense is lesser. That's the worry for me with him.
PJ Walker back there this week, like
that is. I mean, it is.
He's a scrambling quarterback like that.
It's
that's
true.
Gonna hurt a little bit.
It is true. I don't have a problem with anyone. Like I would have them all same tier and stuff like that. But I would probably still take those three. I'd probably have Henry fourth. But I honestly don't. If someone was to tell me they take Henry first overall.
It's close.
It's. I mean, I'm not going to argue with anyone who has them. I mean, they're all same tier to me.
Did we both agree that JT is in the next tier, though?
I think so, man. Like
I think so.
It's crazy to think about. But like,
it really sucks too, is because like right before this injury, I was pretty excited to see like JT. JT is similar in Derrick Henry sense. Like the dude started rolling and I say this every time. He did it his rookie year. He did it last year. He rolls later in the season. And
Yeah.
like this was going to be the heated up time. I know we didn't see any sort of, we didn't
Right.
even see a spark, but like,
Right.
I was hoping that's where we were going to get.
True.
We're getting way off topic. Commander side, T-Mac and Curtis Samuel, like I said earlier, have been consistent, but like TDs, I think they have 3 between the two of them. Curtis Samuel has 2. T-Mac has 1. Jahad Dotson has 4. Miami Brown already has 2 from last game alone. Like, do you have a preference between either of these guys? Are they both flexes currently? Like, is there a preference here? Right now they're pretty equal.
I know, and that's like, it's such a weird situation to me because like I've always loved McLaurin so much, and I've always thought he was one of the best like receivers in the league in terms of just pure talent. And it's just so surprising to me that Samuel has done. I mean, I thought Samuel was a good player too. I just thought he was not as good of a receiver as McLaurin. So it's weird to see like them be so close, but I prefer McLaurin still. Like if we were to draft today, I would take McLaurin over Samuel. I like both. I don't have them separated probably by much, just off the top of my head, but yeah, I'd be happy with having either or both. And but if I had to choose one, I would choose McLaurin rest of the season.
It's like T-Mac's stats don't necessarily reflect how pretty good he looks, and like it's open and like it's crazy. For time's sake, what would you do with this RB backfield? You got Gibson, Brian Robinson is now in the mix, JD McKissick. Like, are you trying to get rid of all of them?
Yeah, dude, this is I know, and this is the exact thing in the beginning of the year why I was so down on Gibson, and why everyone ended up being so down on him, and why he dropped so far is because it's turning into a 3-headed monster where none of them have like a great role. Like Robinson might end up getting the most touches. McKissick might be the pass game guy, but it's almost like strictly that, and he doesn't get enough to really be anything other than like a bye week flex fill-in in a PPR setting. And Gibson might be just relegated to almost nothing. Like, and he just requires like a big, huge play per game to like make value. So like none of them, I really don't love having any of them, honestly. Like I try to get rid of them. I mean, I don't know. Like I just don't really want a part of this backfield at all.
Dude, honestly, I'm going to be like Brian Robinson is the one that I want because I think there's the most upside, because Ron Rivera talks about him like.
Yeah, he's the only one. He's the only one I have on teams, really. And a lot of it was because I was stashing him in like IR spots. Yep. So like
he's the only one I have too.
Yeah, and now like I have to kind of decide though. Like
you can't drop him. He's worth something to people. There's a lot of people that like think there's and like rightfully so. I mean, he looked good as last year. He got drafted 3rd round. Like there seems to be some love here. We didn't see it this week, but it was his first week back.
I know, and that's the thing is like I keep telling myself like I gotta be a little bit more patient. Now, here's the situation. Like some of the shallow leagues I'm in, for example, my Brian Robinson's my IR spot. These are my bench guys: DJ Moore, Khalil Herbert, Michael Carter, Kareem Hunt, Elijah Moore, Jacoby Myers.
So I have my own thoughts. What the heck is Khalil Herbert though? Like it almost seems like Brian Robinson has the clear path to starting than Khalil Herbert.
Right. I would say if you're starting one right now this week, I would start Robinson.
Yeah.
But if Gibson goes down and if Monty goes down, who would you rather have?
Oh, that's a great question. It's
for me,
gotta be
for me,
Khalil.
Yeah.
Great.
Like we've seen Khalil in a lead role.
They're like, we don't care about him.
I mean, well, that's the thing. It's like, again, Khalil is that guy, basically like the more rostered version of Rashad. Like Khalil had when Monty went down, Khalil had what, 20 carries, 157 yards, 2 touchdowns.
Yeah, he had another week too. That was just decent.
It was a decent week where he had like 77. He had almost 100 total yards in that game on 20 touches. So like
the real me just wants to say drop DJ Moore, but
I know. And but so in those kind of situations, I'm like, man, the thing is like to me, Brian Robinson needs 2 injuries to really be like he needs McKissick
but like that's what I'm saying though. Like I don't think we fully know. I really don't.
That's fair.
I
There
could
is
see
fair.
McKissick being involved, and this could be just like Brian Robinson running. Like I could see that.
Yeah.
That seems like a likely situation, but we don't really know.
That's fair. It is fair. It is fair.
He could just dominate. I would tell you to maybe explore trying to 2-for-1 a trade or something or even explore offering to some people. Like I really do think people are interested.
That's what I'm going to try to do.
Seahawks versus Saints. The Saints won barely in this one as well, 39-32. This was a great game to watch. Saints are a pretty solid defense. So to see the Seahawks do what they did this game was really impressive for me. We talked about Kenneth Walker on the Seahawks. Actually, we talked about Geno Smith. So we're going to go to the Saints. And I said, are you bidding on Taysom Hill this week? Yes, I think we both are because, and I don't think we're going too crazy. Maybe I'm going a little bit more crazier than you.
You're probably going higher than me.
The tight ends suck, dude.
I know. Dude, it's just, oh God, I feel so gross doing it. Like, I don't know. I was going to look up and see what his snap percentage was this week. But like, dude, it's
going to go up. I think it's going to go up.
You think so?
Yeah.
You think it? So like, I don't know. Like
I don't
for me,
think he's going to be like a 40% snap percentage guy. Like I get it, but like, dude, I always thought Sean Payton just had a man crush on him. And then now we seeing it all over again. He is going to vulture. And this is going to kind of, while you're looking that up, segue me into what I'm going to say about Alvin Kamara. Cause he's the other person I want to talk about in this offense. This is your sell window for Alvin Kamara. I'm out. Yeah. I'm out after this week. If you have Kamara, look, he played a horrific defense. He finally got pass catching work this game. Why is that? Because their one receiver that was left on the roster, Chris Olave, went out midway through. Michael Thomas is going to come back. Jarvis Landry is going to come back. Olave is going to be back. Jameis Winston's going to be back. This pass catching work isn't going to be available like it was this week.
Yeah.
And then Taysom Hill, just the cherry on the top, whether you want to admit to yourself or not, but he's going to vulture these TDs and it's going to suck. Sell Kamara now.
Yeah, no, that's definitely fair with Kamara. I used him like in Baby Bowl this week, kind of for the same thought process. Because if you look historically with Kamara in games without Michael Thomas, his target share definitely goes up. So like, I agree. As the people start getting healthier, the target share is going to go down. So I would be selling Kamara as well. I was big on him this past week. I had him really, really high ranked. I think I ranked him like it was 5th or 6th or something.
I thought it was going to be so much better, and it could have been. It really could have been. Taysom Hill took it away from us.
He took away 4 touchdowns, man. It's stupid. It's so stupid. Now let me ask you this with Taysom Hill. Well, what do you think his highest snap percentage is on the year in the 5 games?
Oh, on this year, I think it's less than what it will be, but like I wouldn't put it over 20%.
So he's played over 20%. He's played over, I guess, 20% or more 3 times. But he's never played more than 30%. This week he played 30. He scored 36 points on 30% snaps. Like
I know it's grossly efficient, but like, here's my thoughts on it. The coach came out and said Taysom Hill is going to get involved pretty much. Like weirdly, we haven't been seeing a lot of Taysom Hill. And I think they were just trying to convert him into a tight end. Well, guess what, guys? He's going to be an RB playing in the tight end position.
True.
And he's going to throw passes. Like there's a lot of things that add up to 9 points per game that you're probably like, this is an easy tight end start in the tight end landscape.
And it's fair. And I need to like get over the fact of the snap percentage. Like it's just like, it really is like, every time I see him, I'm like, dude, because like earlier in the year, for example, he played 26% snaps, then 9%, then he didn't play in the Carolina game at all. He just didn't play. And then he played 20% snaps, then 30%. And he scored 15, then he scored 1, 0, 8, 36. Like, and the thing is though, like, because I was thinking about it too, and I'm like, yeah, that sucks, but like, dude, you could run out these jokers that are like giving you like I mean, Evan Ingram, for example, who I was pretty high on, and like I still like more than probably most people, but he's, he put up what 10, 12 to 14 points or something this week, and like that's what we kind of consider a better game for him, and like he still has the ability to throw up a goose egg basically. So like, yeah, I mean, I don't mind it. I just,
I think he finishes as, and I'm going to put this as quotes. I think like the way that the coach is talking, as long as he's healthy, he's going to be involved. I think he finishes as like a top 12 tight end.
You think so? Like
at the
end, you think from this point forward, or at the end of the year, counting?
Like,
I mean,
I just think about it in the ways of like how they're going to use him, and if you're a Kamara owner, you're not going to be happy. He gets used in the 20s a lot, and it's like true. If Jameis and all of these receivers are pretty solid, they're going to be in that option a lot. Like they're going to be down the field in a lot of games. So like,
yeah, it is.
Tight ends are so freaking bad, dude. Like
I know.
Next year, I will not leave a draft without Mark Andrews. He's my guy. Next year, I'm gonna have him in every league.
That's fair. Dude,
I'm sick of this.
I went pretty big. I mean, obviously, I went big on Pitts, so it was been frustrating. But I was very much a draft tight end early. Basically, like when I looked at Kelsey late first. You went big on Schultz. That's right. I remember. I
loved Andrews, but I thought Schultz was like comparable. Not
right. No,
not
it's
Andrews, but
like you could get a discount. Yeah. Like I went pretty heavy on Kelsey and Pitts were my two. I got a little bit of Andrews, but I did go pretty heavy on like those top three guys.
It's worth it, dude. It is so worth it. Like no more. Like I'm done. I will never let it happen again. Like they're up by 30. And then Kelsey's at 20 20 points on Andrews. Andrews is 30 from the tight end 3. That's nuts. In the tight end 3, TJ Hawkinson. He had a 40-point game.
Right, like, dude. It's such a massive advantage. And like I preached it to do it in terms of especially 10-teamers. Like because I was like, okay, there's so much depth at wide receiver, and you can get some good high-end running backs too. That like a lot of people in 10-teamers, you look at when people show you teams from 10-teamers, a lot of them are pretty stacked. It feels like. So then you're like, how do you get a difference? How do you get a difference maker? How do you get an edge? The tight end. I in like almost all my 10-teamers. I mean, literally almost every single one of my 10-teamers, I have Kelsey, Andrews, or Pitts. Almost every single one. Obviously, the Pitts thing hasn't worked out, but it was still the right process. It just didn't. Obviously, he didn't hit like we expected him to, but. I mean, it's early, I guess, but I am not optimistic. But at the same time, I agree.
I was so freaking low on Pitts, and I have ended up buying him in way too many leagues. So I'm so mad at myself. 49ers versus Panthers. The best thing to come from really this game was the firing of Matt Rule. 49ers defense looks really, really good. Really solid, but the problem is they took some hits to the injury bug this week. Emmanuel Mosley, torn ACL, safety Jimmy Ward, broken hand, and Nick Bosa left the game with a groin injury. That is 3 big parts of this defense that it kind of changes the landscape of this team. This game was actually 10-3, almost at halftime. And then Baker threw a pick 6, made it 17-3. But the fact that it was 10-3 almost at halftime was surprising to me because I think it ended up 37-15, obviously.
Yeah.
So tight end position, we just talked about it, been the worst we've seen in years. With George Kittle, you spent the capital. There's not really a situation where you're grabbing from the waiver to replace him yet, right? Like,
no.
What is this, game 3 for him?
I think so. I think he fits the first 2.
Like when I watch this game, this is one of those moments where I watch the game and then when I go back to his stat line, I'm like, he seemed way more involved. Now here's what I wanted to say, because I think you put this player on here as well. Brandon Ayuk, been a little bit disappointing. I mean, he was kind of a cheap pick in general. It's been a lot of game script, dude. Like the defense has been dominating on this game. They've been up. Like him and Kittle may be great buy lows right now. And I truly believe that because they got some tougher games ahead. They go Falcons, but after that, it's the Chiefs. Like, are you going for any of these guys? Because I don't think I'm dropping Ayuk.
Yeah, I'm not dropping Ayuk really either. Yeah, I mean, I'm torn on him really because I think they're gonna be just hit or miss, and I think that's kind of what we saw last year too with them, where Debo was kind of a constant, mostly constant. Like he would have a couple down games, but he was more constant than the rest. And then Kittle would have spike games, Ayuk would have spike games, and I think that's really what we're gonna see with them, because they do like to really run the ball. They like to Jeff Wilson obviously has been pretty awesome, so. So yeah, both of those guys, I don't have a problem with buying them because they're going to have some spike games, and I think both are very talented. Yeah. And obviously those spike games from Kittle is going to be worth even more at tight end. So I don't have a problem because if you wait until those spike games, then you're going to be paying a premium. So if you want to get in before, I mean, you now's the time to do it, but at the same time, you just got to know that there's going to be some rough games here and there.
Yeah. Especially see, the thing is, like, these might be buy lows because you're looking at a defense that just got a little worse.
Yeah.
And
I
Jimmy
agree.
ain't scared to throw. He ain't scared to throw. So I'm like talking myself into this and thinking about sending some trades later tonight. Panther side, the only person we want to talk about, because we know CMC is great, DJ Moore. Can you sell him for a bag of peanuts? Are you buying him for a bag of peanuts?
Man.
Are you holding? Like
I'm most honestly, I mean, the problem is that I just love his talent so much. It's hard for me to get away from him. I don't think you're going to get very much for him. I think it's a hold. I think, I mean, it's you can buy low, but it's a scary buy low. Like you gotta have some cojones on you if you're trying to do it.
Cojones. You're buying low into a new coaching staff. But here's the thing: You're going into with PJ Walker, which I only think he's played maybe 1 or 2 games. We should have had some PJ Walker, DJ Moore numbers here. It would have been. I know.
I was trying to think.
We'll put out. I'll think of a tweet that we'll put out the tweet later.
Okay.
It could be bold. Keeping it flowing here. Eagles versus Cardinals. Cards looked better than expected this game, dude. I've talked shit about Kyler all week about how the Eagles were going to eat him up, and guess what? They should have been in overtime, and I don't know what would have happened there. I still have very little faith in this Cardinal offense until we get D-Hop back. I do think D-Hop kind of changes the whole thing. Said it on a couple previous episodes. They played well against one of the best defenses in the NFL. Blown a kick that would have sent this into OT. Great clip of I want to say it's like an offensive lineman. Yeah, I think so.
Yeah,
back in their kicker to the media. That was cool to see. So like, let's talk about Miles Sanders. Talk about the Philly side first. I fear the sell window for Miles Sanders quickly shut after this week. Like, it's going to be a roller coaster of a year for a player for him. But if healthy, I'm convinced he finishes as RB2. What are you doing, Miles Sanders?
Same. I have the same kind of thoughts. Like, I was trying to sell him. Like, I didn't have him in a lot of spots because I was worried about his usage going into the year. Like, I was like, this is going to be a guy that's not going to get a lot of pass work because he's got Jalen Hurts as his quarterback. And then also Jalen Hurts, as we've seen, and it's continued this year. Dude just runs so much. And he runs inside the red zone for touchdowns. Like, so Sanders, obviously, I don't think he had any touchdowns last year at all. Obviously he has 3 this year, and we knew that would correct itself a little bit, especially if the offense was good. But still, Hurts has 4, I think, rushing, like inside the 10. So, I mean, that's worrisome.
It's hard to get these TDs, yeah.
Right, he's gonna have to break some. But at the same time, he's kind of has the Dobbins effect, where Dobbins is playing with Lamar. They're probably better. I mean, like, I think Sanders is more talented than the average running back. Like, I think he's actually a fairly talented player. Like, I've always liked him. He breaks big plays. His vision wasn't as good the first couple of years. I think it's gotten better this year from what I've seen. He looks like he's more decisive. He looks like he's hitting holes and actually making decisions quicker and processing. And he plays on one of the best offenses with one of the best offensive lines. So, like, his efficiency is going to be good more often than not. The receiving and the touchdowns are going to be the question marks. And, he's getting good snap share. He's getting good rushing attempts. But, like, obviously we saw this past week, if it doesn't get the touchdown, he had 8 points. The other week in week 3, he didn't get a touchdown. He had 5.4 points. Like, I was trying to sell before this game. I didn't have him much, but I was trying to sell. I agree with you. Like, it might have shut a little bit. To me, it's kind of like at this point he's kind of a hold. Especially, I mean, if they're, I think if they're, you can take advantage of people who might have like are really running back needy on, like if they have a lot of buys or injuries this week. But other than that, like, you probably just hold, and then I mean next week, week 7 is their bye, and then he's got like what looks like could be some good matchups with Pittsburgh, Houston, Washington, Indianapolis.
And this team is so good. Like,
Right.
This is a player that, like, high floor, high ceiling. I
Yeah.
think.
Yeah. I agree. So he's probably, like I said, I agree with you. Like, if he stays healthy all year, he's probably going to finish as an RB2 on a points per game basis and a total points basis. And so really depends on what your roster construction looks like. But I mean, for me,
There might
like,
be some people panicking though, so like that's where
right.
you take advantage.
Yep. And that's the, yeah. And then if for
And if
me,
you're an
like,
owner, don't sell. It's my thought.
right now, like for me, I'm going to be holding. I have him
Until
on
another 2 TD game.
Yeah, basically.
Yep.
Like that's kind of my thought process. Like, I have him in a league where I had CPAT, so like I'm holding there. Before I was trying to sell because I had CMC, CPAT, and him. So I was like trying to sell Sanders and get out while the getting was good. And then CPAT goes down, and then I was like, well, now I got to hold. Now it's a bad game. Now I really got to hold.
Yeah.
So
he's a really great running back. It's just tough for fantasy, and
agreed.
he's unfortunately like the 5th option in this offense all around. Like, you go through all 4 of the other guys, even Goder. Interestingly, I think Devonta Smith is very similar to Miles Sanders for fantasy. Like, I love Hurts, but it is asking way too much for this dude to dominate on rushing attempts and on the ground and support 2 wide receivers and a tight end weekly. Are you trying to shop Devonta Smith to something more consistent? Or are you okay with the boom? I guess it depends on roster construction. Like, he's going to be very boom busts. I don't even want to say busts. He's going to be very boom average.
Yeah. I think that's the thing. He's a tough one for me because I think he's very talented. Like, I think he's a really good receiver. He's kind of like you're looking at his like underlying stuff. Like, I think he's like 22nd wide receiver, 22, somewhere around there, in like total points. Like wide receiver, yeah, right around the 2-3 border in that. And like even his target share, targets, like all that kind of stuff is like right around that level too. So like he's kind of is where he's supposed to be, but at the same time, like you said, it's hard to support that much when you have a running quarterback. So it's kind of scary on a weekly basis because you're like, you see AJ Brown have a couple down games, and you're like, well, AJ Brown's a stud. He gets his, and if Goddard gets his a little bit, and Sanders gets his, and Jalen Hurts runs, like,
yeah,
Devontae's not. That's gonna be the games that he doesn't do well, and we saw that week 1. So it's like,
yep. This whole offense is kind of like that outside of Hurts, right? Like, even AJ Brown's like your most consistent option as far as a weapon goes on this.
I know. I think
even that can be low.
I know. And that's the thing. It's like, I think basically for me, like all of these guys, like between Goddard, Sanders, AJB, and Devontae, like pretty much I'm kind of mostly just plugging them in everywhere I have them, essentially. And knowing that like 1 or 2 of them are probably going to have bad games while the others kind of have probably really good games.
Yeah. No, I think that it's very, I mean, we saw this a little bit with the Chargers offense. Like, Mike Will is like the biggest person that comes to mind. Flipping the Cardinals, we talked about Rondale Moore already. I did have a question about James Conner for you. If you're an above 500 team, let's say you're 4-1, 5-0. I don't know if I want to say 3-2, 4-1 or 5-0.
Mm-hmm.
What kind of offer would you send for James Conner, saying, you know what, D-Hop's coming back. He might, if Eno Benjamin doesn't steal his job, if he doesn't look amazing, he comes back into an offense with D-Hop, kind of fills right back into his old role. What kind of offer are you sending there if you think that?
Man, yeah.
And you have the ability to stash him.
Yeah, if I had that option, I would be looking to sell anyone that's like kind of a here and now. Like, even like something that comes to mind off the top of my head that definitely has more value now would be a Jeff Wilson type. Like, when I think about it, I'm just like, okay, well, Jeff Wilson is a guy
I've been
that
buying Jeff Wilson a lot.
no, it's fair though. Yeah, and that's the thing is like people will still buy. I mean,
I would
people
probably do that if I was a James Conner owner. I'd be like, yeah, give me Jeffy. I need to win now.
right, and that's the thing is like you could probably get Connor plus in a lot of cases, especially if Connor is like ruled out this week and like he doesn't play. You could probably get Connor plus for Wilson, and if you're looking towards the deep end, like a playoffs, I mean, maybe it's something you could do.
I like that. That's a good area, and somebody that maybe like Ramondre.
Dude, that's the other person I was thinking of too.
But like
Ramondre.
if I'm owning Ramondre, I'm not doing it.
Yeah, that's
not
fair.
a chance.
It's tough.
Cowboys versus Rams. The Rams have not figured it out, man. 22-10. Cowboys won. The Rams right now, their offensive line is just getting destroyed, and it's causing them the game. Matthew Stafford isn't going through his progressions. He just tries to give the ball to Cooper, and like that's a great strategy because Cooper Kupp is great, but it's not looking good. Let's go to the Cowboys side. Zeke Pollard. I don't want to say this is what we expected. Like this game was very much what Twitter's like, what are we doing? Because Zeke another day got 22 carries, had like 78 yards. I'm going off the top of my head. Pollard with like 6 carries, 88 yards. It was insane.
Right. He's always been the guy that looks more explosive and everyone wants to get the feature role, but he never gets the feature role. Like
I don't think it happens.
I don't think it will happen unless Zeke gets hurt.
They paid Zeke too much.
Yeah, and Zeke's Jerry's guy, and like it's just
Jerry has way too much control.
Yeah, and plus Zeke, like as much as I love Pollard too. Like now, don't get me wrong. Like I've been wanting Pollard to get a bigger role, but sometimes I think to myself, I'm like, is he built to handle a role? Like Zeke's a beast. I mean, like he's like I think Pollard would be fine, but like is he built to handle it? I don't know. I mean, I want to see it because I want to know. So like, but yeah, I mean, to me, like I was not in on Zeke heading into the year, so I don't have any. I feel like it's mostly a hold. Like people are really down on Zeke. So like from what I've seen at least, so I don't think you're going to get much if you try to just trade Zeke. When it comes to Pollard, he's another one that's like high upside stash. I mean, he has standalone value too, so you can play him as like a flex level guy.
My outlandish take for Pollard is he reminds me a lot of Le'Veon Bell.
Okay.
Size wise, he's close, little scrawnier. Like I just looked it up. Le'Veon was 225, it says, and he's 209. Le'Veon 6'1", Tony Pollard 6 foot. He's got long legs. He has these long strides. He's very patient in the backfield. I love Tony Pollard. It is hard to say, like, is he going to be successful in Dynasty? Because I know it's not going to be this year now that he isn't getting more work and more receiving work that you would hope. This offense could look a little different with Dak, but like, and he's capped.
Yeah, and it's tough for me at least. I always feel like it's tough to buy running backs in Dynasty for a long-term outlook. Because most of them, I mean, you get like a rookie. I mean, rookies generally to maybe take like first few games or maybe half of a season or something, then they'll turn it on maybe. But it's more often than not, it's like you're hitting that first year or you're really not hitting. Like generally, like that's usually how it goes with running backs. So it's tough. Pollard is kind of a unique situation in that sense.
Dalton Schultz, we talked about him a little bit earlier. He's dealing with a PCL injury. Honestly, there's some of the waiver guys we talked about. Hayden Hurst, Taysom Hill for me.
It's fair too.
I don't know if Irv would do it for me, but like there's a lot of guys that I'm starting over Dalton Schultz. Robert Tonyan, if he's out there.
It's fair, yeah. It's fair. Yeah.
Until he looks healthy.
Yeah. Especially like, we mentioned this offense isn't looking the whole like that great. So yeah.
The defense looks great. Dalton Schultz is hard. Cooper Rush and him don't seem to have the same connection that Dak and he had.
I agree.
Ram side, A-Rob, I want to do this one quick because I think he's a drop.
Yep.
I think they figure this out, but like you can't stash and wait. I think they figured out to an extent. Cam Akers and Henderson. I don't want to like Cam Akers is the one that you're stashing. Henderson might be a drop, dude. He might be a great stash though. At the same time,
he's a tough one, dude. Because like in the beginning of the year, we were talking like, damn, this is why we got him. This is why we drafted him late. Because all of a sudden he took the reins. He was the workhorse the week one, and then it's just switched so much. Like you never know what's gonna happen. I mean, it's obviously looks like Akers is the guy more often than not now, but Henderson, like. To me, he's another one of those just like high upside stash kind of guys. Yeah. Like, I put him in the Madison, Rashad White, kind of area where it's just a guy that stash and hope. I mean, you don't hope for the injury, but like if the injury happens, then you know what to do with them.
Yeah, dude, I mean, I agree. Like, it's tough to like. I think I'm in a 10-team league and he's getting dropped this week. This offense outside of Cooper Kupp, like Stafford should be on your bench if not dropped. Also, like
agree.
Like Stafford, I don't know. Geno, I would drop Stafford for Geno.
Same. I was just about to say, give me Geno over Stafford.
Goff for Stafford.
Yeah, I mean, obviously this week Goff on bye.
It was rough.
Yeah, but
and he's on bye.
Yeah, but other than that, like, yeah. I mean, Stafford is in the Russ range for me, where like they're both like two guys that had some upside heading in, had some promise, and people were hopeful for. Obviously, Stafford had a great year, and with Russ, we were hoping for a big year. But both of those guys, I would drop either one for Geno.
I would rather have Russ than Stafford. I personally think that offense has more weapons than
fair. Yeah, it's fair.
Than Rams and a little bit of a better line.
Yeah.
Bengals versus Ravens. This was Sunday Night Football, 19-17. The Ravens won, dude. This was a good game.
Yeah.
Bengals side, we saw T. Higgins play us all. Cost me probably 2 different losses.
Yeah, same. Cost me a bunch.
I'm a little concerned about his injury. I don't want to get too much into it because like it's an injury thing. We'll talk about that tomorrow. Mm-hmm. But like the dude has outperformed Jamar Chase this year.
Yeah.
In the limited games.
Like, dude, it's been wild. I think even like going back to last year, I don't know if it's like all the games that they've been on the field together, Chase has outdone him in almost every single. Or I mean, Higgins has outdone him in almost every single metric, like target share, total targets, receptions, receiving yards, like points, fantasy points. Like it's wild, really. I think they're. I mean, I think they're both studs, but like, yeah, it's wild. Like you said, though, obviously the injury kind of puts a damper on Higgins. Like, we got to wait and see how severe it is, but this is one of those things. Yeah. Like we talked about where injuries, you might think they're all right. And the next thing you know, they're flaring up more than you expect.
Yeah. Yeah. And like, I can't believe it's an ankle injury. So like, that's the concern that it held him out. Like it did this game. It's super frustrating. Joe Mixon, I got back on track as far as efficiency goes. This line seems to be getting better every week. Mm-hmm. I think he's still a buy low. Like I just don't know. It just depends on the owner. Like I would send some offers low. I would send some low ball offers.
I agree. He's still buy low for me. There was a little bit of concern with Pirine got more involved on like third downs and long down and distance, which didn't love seeing. But Mixon's usage is still like top 10 among running backs. So like, yeah, like, I mean, going into the game, he was like RB1 in usage. So like, it was insane. This game was like a little bit more down to earth, but it was still like, top 10. I still think he's going to be a top 10 running back in terms of point per game. I went out and bought him in 3 leagues last week. I think I sent you guys some of the offers. So I went out and I was actively pursuing him and Lenny. Those are the 2 guys I've been like mentioning that I've been trying to pursue just from the usage. Like, so I'm still pursuing Mixon this week if I can.
Well, yeah, I mean, I agree. I think I had sent out an offer earlier today. He still was 70% snap share, 14 for 78. So like finally getting some efficiency down. He had 3 targets. Like, I mean, I'm buying into any bit of this offense that I could get. I actually think Tyler Boyd might be a huge play this week and it coming up, but we'll get to that on the game previews. Ravens side, Duvernay could have had a monstrous game and Lamar missed him. I think this is going to be crazy, but like I want my hands on Duvernay everywhere I could get him.
No, that's fair. And he's been your guy. So he's looked good.
It's preseason, then I came along after season, but yes.
Okay. Yeah, he's looked good, dude. Like I mean, he's looked good. I don't blame you for wanting to go get him.
Better than Bateman.
Yeah, Bateman, and I think Bateman's banged up still, right? And
he wasn't in this game.
Yeah, who knows if he's going to play this week? And again, it's the same kind of thing we talked about with injuries. Like injuries that seem minor can be bigger than you think, and then they can start to derail a season as if they don't get on track fast enough. So. Yeah, I don't blame anyone who wants to go out there and get Duvernay. Obviously, this line could have looked way better. Like you said, Lamar missed him. Would have been barely. Yeah, which could have been a huge touchdown. So, and he's mostly been making big plays, splash plays almost every week. So, I mean, his nickname is Big Play Duvernay. So, I mean, that's your guy. So that's your guys' guy. So, yeah, I don't blame you.
J.K. Dobbins, my thoughts on here, and I'll get your thoughts as well. I think if you have him at this point in any fantasy team, you are crazy to sell him. Like you held on to this.
Yeah.
I don't have much faith in him this year.
Agreed. I've always been low on him.
That's the problem. Like I guess both of us are sells, but we would also have not suggested getting him.
I know. And like a lot of the guys, so a lot of people like that I know that are like big into like dynasty rookies, Devi, like kind of stuff like that. They're huge on Dobbins. Like they love him. They love the film on him. They love, you know what I mean? Like they just love Dobbins so much. And like, I don't even disagree. Like I loved Dobbins at Ohio State. Dude was awesome. Like it's just once running backs go to situations that aren't advantageous fantasy wise, it's hard for me to really get around to him. Like I don't love any running back that goes to Buffalo. I don't love Baltimore situation.
To Buffalo would be hilarious then.
And that's the thing is like, dude, everyone's talking about that, and I'm like, I don't even want that. Like, I don't even want.
I think the Rams is the spot, dude.
I would, I saw when you guys were talking earlier, I almost jumped in on it. Like, I wanted to be like, am I crazy that I'm like, I think like I'm the only one that's like, please do not go to Buffalo. Like, I saw one other person on Twitter, maybe two other people talking about it too. Like Chris Towers was one of them. It was like, we keep wish casting all these running backs to Buffalo and wanting Buffalo to be a great fantasy spot. And
Singletary is fine. Yeah.
Right. And that's the thing is like Singletary's fine. Those situations where they have running quarterbacks that don't throw to the running backs. Like I just don't want my running backs that I like to go there. Like, and that's why I never was like big on Dobbins. Like even looking at the snaps, he's only been 43, 50, and 40% of snaps.
And he's getting back. Like that's going to be higher, but yeah.
But even still, like, I mean, as Gus Edwards gets back, he's probably going to split some snaps with them. Like, they've never been a workhorse, bell cow kind of team. They've never really thrown to the running backs outside of last year. Last year they did more, but that was also Lamar was banged up more last year. He missed games and he was playing hurt at times. So, like, I think that had something to do with it. Like, he wasn't running quite as much in the games he was banged up. He would dump off more than he was used to. I just don't like Dobbins in games that he doesn't get a touchdown. He's a serious threat for single digits. So like, I don't know. Like that's my concern with him. But he also has
a fair concern.
Yeah, he's also one of those guys though, like Miles Sanders type, where they're on a great offense.
It's pretty similar.
Yeah, he's him and Miles Sanders are very similar to me. It's just that Miles Sanders is getting a bigger workload currently and a bigger snap share. So like. He's more promising right now, but like they both have the same thing where they're going to have to live on efficiency and getting like bigger play touchdowns than because they have quarterbacks that are going to do the same thing.
Yeah, and that's what he did in his rookie year. He scored, I want to say it was 10 touchdowns
Yep.
on like 187. If I remember that and nailed that, I'm going to be proud of myself. 187
For sure.
carries, which is it's highly efficient. Last game, Monday Night Football. Finally, we get a great primetime game. The Raiders versus the Chiefs. Dude, don't get me started on McDaniel because, like, I think it's ballsy to go for 2.
Yeah, it was different.
But like it kind of was just at the same time, like, what are you doing? Like, you're not the Giants, right? Like, you're not the underdog in the sense that we came into this season and everyone doubted us. Let me go for 2. Here's my balls. No, you're Las Vegas. You guys are 1-3, and everyone had high expectations for you guys, and you guys are blowing it. So it's a different situation for me, I think.
Yeah.
Like, I get it. Like, you have nothing to lose. Maybe I don't know.
I'm not gonna lie. I'll admit that I did not watch. I was not watching at the time when that happened. Because like my wife wanted to watch House of the Dragon. So I'll just lay it out there. But so we watched it, right? And I was just checking my phone all the time though, like checking stats and checking what's updates. And I saw they had scored a touchdown. I'm like, oh shit. And then like all of a sudden, yeah. And all of a sudden I'm like, why does this score not change? And then I double checked it and it said 2-point conversion failed. I'm like, what? Like I was just so shocked in my head. I'm like, I was just thinking to myself, I'm like, I understand the whole thing when they're down 2 touchdowns and they go for the 2-point conversion because even if they miss it, then they're down 8. But if they made it, they put themselves at such an advantage to win. Like when it's late in the fourth quarter, the whole, the analytics say to go for it. Like say you're down 2 touchdowns and your score with like 9 minutes left in the game, you go for the 2, and then that way you're determined, But I don't know about the going for 2 when you're could have tied the game. Like it was wild. It was wild. I was just shocked. Like, so I didn't actually watch it to know really what was going on. I don't know if there was some kind of like decision that made that decision, but like I just remember seeing it and double checking like 2 or 3 times, triple checking. I'm like, what is going on? Why is this not updating? And then I realized they went for 2. I'm like, oh shit.
And the crazy part is that wasn't even the most boneheaded coach move this week. I will not get started on Brandon Staley making the dumbest coaching move I've probably ever witnessed. I'm not kidding, dude. I think that was the dumbest coaching move I have ever seen. Are you on your own 40?
Yeah, that was wild. That was wild.
So at least he was the second dumbest coach this week.
Sure.
Derek Carr has been very lackluster. Like there's only certain situations where you're probably stashing him on your roster. And that's like if you have Kirk Cousins, Jared Goff, but like any of these higher top 8 dudes, I'm dropping Derek Carr.
Yeah, no, that's fair. I'm right there with you. He's like a back end top 12-ish type guy for me. He's going to have his weeks, but yeah, trying to hold through a bye is tough in a single QB league.
Josh Jacobs has looked really freaking good, dude.
He looks like a stud. Like
he does. He might come out as a steal of a draft here.
Yeah, seriously. He's one I didn't draft much. Again, it was a worry that he wasn't going to get pass work. Like I was worried that I was like they declined his option. Exactly. Like they declined his option. The only time he's ever got pass work was last year when guys were going down. But I should have just went into I've always thought he was talented, but he's just every year like everyone's like wish casted the pass volume for him, and it never has happened. Then this year it's looking like it's happening.
Was nice too, right?
Yeah, but I was worried that was like
a fluke.
More a fluke of I thought it was more of a sense of like guys getting banged up and guys going down and then them not having many players to go to, so he played more snaps. But I think a lot of it was the fact that like someone brought up a good point to me in the preseason, and I should have taken it more seriously, was like the guys didn't really go down as much as you might have thought. It was a changing coaching staff that like once Gruden was gone, that's when his targets started spiking up more, and it really didn't coincide with the injuries. Like some of the injuries was a little bit more coincidence than that, but like it was more a product of a change in coaching staff. And so yeah, I should have just taken that, weighed that more heavily.
I do have my fears with Josh Jacobs. He seems to be a consistent guy that like will get banged up and then kind of fizzles out for the rest of the year. It
Yeah, he
seems to
does.
happen more often. But so like that's my only concern, but I don't want to sell based on like kind of a gut feeling. Chiefs side of things, let's talk about Juju Smith-Schuster and CEH. Juju's been a little rough. Like,
yeah,
at first I was thinking like this dude looks good. He fits this offense, but I don't know anymore, man. Like he hasn't had a wide receiver. I don't even know if he's had a wide receiver 2 finish yet.
Yeah, I don't know either, honestly. I mean, he's been pretty rough. I honestly don't know what to do with him because like you still want pieces of that offense, and he is kind of still like the lead guy aside from Kelsey. But like,
and then it's just like, what is that saying? Because Mahomes is spreading the ball out.
they are definitely spreading the ball out. I don't
Sky
know.
Moore is getting more snaps every week, past 3 at least.
That is true. That is true. After my slander,
He had 35, I think 35% this week. I was surprised.
Yeah. So I was looking at Juju. He's gotten 8 targets in every game, exactly 8 targets in every game except one. So it's encouraging. His snap percentages have basically been between 63 and 86%, but his points he's topped out at like 13. So it's
Is
like,
there any situation where he's a buy for you? Because all that work is encouraging.
Yeah, I guess there is some situation because he's not doing very well, but the 8 targets per game in 4 of 5 games, like I like that. Like, and I would expect like 8 Patrick Mahomes targets per game if he can keep that kind of level up. He's going to turn into better production than he's had so far. Yeah. So, I mean, and I don't think it would take a ton to get him. I think people are pretty down on him. I don't know. I don't know.
I'm gonna try to shoot my shot tonight.
There you go. Yeah, I'll have to see how it turns out for you.
Yeah,
see,
I'll let you know.
It's hard to tell. But like to me,
it
Juju's
like a lottery play.
Yeah, and to me, Juju's one that's hard to tell like how other people judge him because like I feel like you could spin a case either way, and like it just depends on how whoever has them is kind of looking at him. Like, are they looking at it as like he's one of the lead guys for Patrick Mahomes, or are they looking at him like, dude, this dude's giving me 13 points max in 5 weeks? Like,
right.
So
I'm gonna find out here. Clyde. I don't know what to do with Clyde. I don't own him.
I don't either.
He was not somebody that I targeted. So like this is where it's like hard for both of us because we could watch on the outside. Like it was a stinker for him.
Yeah, it was his first real stinker, really.
Stinker.
Yeah.
But not rushing stinker, which is
right.
Like kind of one of those things where like if you're looking outside the box, could be bad. Jarrett McKinnon like does these terrible juke steps and side moves that pissed me off, but he ran better.
Yeah, no, for sure. It's wild. Clyde has been he's been really good for fantasy, but he's been such a roller coaster. Like 2 weeks ago in week 3, he had 7 carries for 0 yards and a touchdown. That was that game at Indy, but he also had 5 for 39 receiving. Like he had a solid fantasy game. This game he only had 9 for 15 in carrying, and then like 3 for 20 receiving. So it was his first down game receiving, like we talked about. And then the other games he's had like 20, 23, or 22, 23, 15. So like he's done well pretty much every game, but he's not even he's only played 50% of snaps in one game. Like, I don't know. To me, I can't expect him to live off of this like touchdown efficiency. Like he has 1, 2, 3, 5 touchdowns in the 5 games. I don't know. Like I would be selling if I had him, but again, like we talked about, like neither of us really have him, so
yeah, it's
hard to say that.
Gauge that value. Like I think there's people in the market after the first couple of weeks, especially like a casual fan that hasn't really watched the game. They're just looking at points. Sell them.
Right. I agree.
All right, dude. That wraps it up for us. We went way too long. It's a typical Tuesday thing.
It happens, you know. You got the waiver wire. The waiver wire is the important thing,
killer.
man. It gets you because I mean it's important though because you gotta go through the games, recap them, hit the waivers.
Waivers are it's so different in every league.
Yep, it's hard to really encapsulate it.
Definitely is. If you're not already following us on Twitter at DadBodFS, we'll post a video on YouTube, Twitch, Facebook, DadBod Fantasy Squad. We'll post a recording on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, Google Podcasts, and all the major streaming platforms. For Rob Norton at Norton0723 on Twitter, and for myself, peace.